Hey, hello guys. Okay, let me on my webcam. Oh, yeah. How's everybody doing? Hope everything's been fine. Yeah, so I think I stopped for a week last week. Yeah. And today we are going to continue with our scissor hack. And I'll be talking more about just a simple UV manipulation, how you can make uh, like something like sine wave and cosine wave to make some cool effects just simply by manipulating the UV. And after my part, we will have Varick. He's also a Singapore creator, and I'm pretty sure you have played with his filter, even though maybe you haven't seen him, you never go to his page before, which I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, so his name is Varick, and he'll talk more about how you can create a good UX and UI for your game filter. So just let me start with my part, which is about UV. So I'm going to start with something simple and slowly going to more advanced stuff. So if you already know the basic stuff about UV, just bear with me for the start. Okay. So I've actually just I did a simple setup of just a canvas and rectangle. And I put a material 0 here, so I'm just going to extract a camera texture. Yeah. Okay, so when you are doing any UV manipulation, the most important patch that you need to know, and the most basic one, is composition. So composition is very similar as texture sample. Yeah, so it basically works the same as texture sampler. The only difference is composition will output a texture, but texture sampler will output a color. So for example, if you use the texture sampler, the output is a color, right? And if you want to further manipulate the output even more, for example, you want to add pixelation after the blur effect, you can't do it with texture sampler because once the output is a color, you can't manipulate anymore. So, but for composition, it's not a problem because it always comes out as a texture, so you can have multiple effects stacked together. Yeah. Okay, so to use composition, the most basic one is to pair it with function. Make sure that it's vector 2 and put it to G. So F will be camera texture and G will be function. And you see that there's no difference at all because this just means that you're using the original texture coordinates for the camera texture and put it into material 0. So nothing changes. Alright, so let us move on to the first part about UV manipulation, which we will do it just from the simple add. So to understand how UV actually means, so UV you can see as X and Y, so it's just the coordinates of the texture. So if I add a 0.5, you just see the texture move diagonally up on the left. So it just means that you add 0.5 to both the X and Y axis. So if we use unpack, and if I just, oh sorry, so I have to pack it. Alright, so if I just want to move the x-axis, for example 0.1, okay, it's not obvious. Okay, 0.5, yeah. Then as you can see that if I increase the value, the whole texture will move left. So if I make it 1, I'll just move very left. And if it's 0, oh sorry, and if it's negative 1, yeah, I'll just move right. Same for Y. If if I add 1, I'll just go up. Yeah, so basically this is something that you can always, you can always like try out if you forget like which direction is which. Okay, so so to change the direction of the UV, you can just do addition. So now what if we do multiplication instead? So let me just do multiply by the whole thing. So if I multiply by 2, you actually zoom out. So if I multiply by half, it will zoom in. So this is the very basic of how texture coordinate works, which you, by zooming in and also or moving left and right, you can actually also do it with texture transform, and which you can pair with 2D transform pack. Yeah, so you can basically do the same thing. But of course, you can do more if you know how to manipulate UV. For example, if I do the multiplication of 2, then you can see the stretch. There's a stretch mark on both my right and also bottom. So this because the default texture of a camera collector is always on the clamping mode. That means if you reach the end of the camera, it will just stretch the texture to fill up the rest of the gap. But if you don't want this to happen, you can always use modulo. and you will auto filling the rest of the texture with the original texture. So modulo is basically getting the remainder of division 1. So what it means is you're dividing the texture, the original texture coordinate by 1, and the remainder, and it comes up as the remainder as the output. So just imagine if it's the texture coordinate is from 0 to 1 only, right? So if it's more than 1, for example, it's 1.5, you divide by 1, the remainder will be 0.5, and so that's why it can fill up the original camera texture with the that's why I can fill out the when it's exceed more than 1 or when it's below 0, it can fill up the original coordinates. Yeah, okay, I'm not very good at explaining this. But basically you will just fill out the original texture with so you'll fill up like as if when you import a texture, if it's a square or 2 or dimension, it basically works like you are using the mode of repeating. Yeah. So instead of clamp, it's now repeated. Oh, I'm so bad at explaining. Okay. So it just means that if now I'm doing this. Okay, if I want to do basic UV scrolling, so I just want to scroll in a Y direction. So I just use runtime and edit. Oh, nope. Okay, never mind. Alright, so this is the very basic of UV manipulation. So of course this is quite boring, and you can't really do much with it unless you want to have more of yourself. Yeah. So one cool thing about UV manipulation is you can actually combine it with sine wave. So there's inbuilt sine, cosine, and also tangent inside, which you can use it with the texture coordinate and create like actual UV wave with the texture, any texture that you want. Okay. So just let me recap what I did just this afternoon. Yeah, so this is basically what I'm trying to achieve So just let me recap. Okay. Alright. So we're just going to start with sine first. So just move this away. Alright. So just let me. The first step is to connect the textual coordinates and the runtime. To the sine, and let's just see what happens. Wow. It's like many tiny cockroaches. Alright. So let's see if I swizzle out. Pack it. So now you can't really see anything because it's probably because the amplitude or the frequency is too big. So we're just going to do some adjustment. So you can always adjust. If you remember back in school you learn about sine and cosine. So sine is y equals to sine x. So if you want to increase or decrease the frequency, you have to multiply by the x. Yeah, so you can do it by 5. So now this is changing the frequency. Okay, maybe not. So maybe the amplitude is too big. So to do that, so to change the amplitude, if you remember y equals to sine x, right, you want to increase the amplitude, you actually need to multiply by sine x. So you have to multiply after the sine. Okay, I have to go recap. What did I do? Add. Okay, so I should add. So over here, I should do an add instead. That's right. Okay. So you can see something scrolling slowly. And what else? What else do I need to add? Just delete this. This should be it. What am I missing? Well, every time when I do it myself, it's always fine, and when I'm doing a live stream, something always go wrong. Wow. Okay, anyway, since I already have this here, I will just continue with this and shift everything down. Alright. Hey, okay. So basically what I did, where I stopped just now, is this. Okay, so function will be here. Function fragment stage. For this, we don't really need fragment stage. Yeah, so this one can delete. So you multiply that by 8. So 8 is basically the frequency. So if you want to increase the frequency, yeah, so then you can now there's more curve. Oh, it's funny. Alright, and if you want to decrease it, and the curve will be more smooth, the lesser curve. And if you think this is too fast, you can just change the multiplication here. Yeah. And if you want it to wave more, you just change the amplitude. Ooh, okay, so that's a lot. And after that, I actually swizzle out to X. So it just means that it will just swing, it will just wave along the X-axis. So if I make it Y, now it's just waving along the Y-axis. Yeah, so, I know what I did wrong just now. I didn't add the texture coordinate at the end. So at the very end, you still need to add back the texture coordinate. So if I didn't add it, it would just be very weird, like very stretchy. So if you add it back, then you will find the original texture. You can see more of it, like more clear what's actually happening. And yeah, and multiply and modulo is the same as what I first started. So you can multiply by more and you'll see more of you. And the modulo is just to fill up the remaining texture that you don't want it to be very stretchy. Yeah, so if I don't use the modulo, yeah, it will just be stretchy out. Yeah, really stretchy. Okay. It's kind of funny too. Alright, move on. Okay, so yeah, basically if you want to do sine wave, it's as simple as this. And now, if you want to include more than sine wave, you want to add cosine into. So basically, if you just replace sine with cosine, right, you can't see much difference because they're basically the same wave. Yeah, they're basically very similar wave if you remember what you learned back in school. Yeah, but what happens if you change it with tangent? You become a tangent wave, yay! So of course it doesn't really look very nice, but who knows, maybe someone likes it. Okay. So how about we combine both sine and cosine? So this is what I'm going to do. So essentially, except for the add here, the rest are the same. I just squeeze out, then multiply and pack it. But instead of packing with the same sign, I use the x as cosine and y as so x as sine and y as cosine. And I also add it so that you can do a UV scrolling. So let's just show you what it actually does. So yay! So instead of just a cosine wave, there's a on the y-axis is a instead of just a sine wave on the y-axis now there's a cosine wave, so it's even more wobbly right now. Actually, kind of like this. Maybe this is moving too fast, so let me just slow it down. Okay. Okay, more comfortable. Yeah, so this is like this really looks like more of a wave right now. So if you want to have a different effect, you can actually just change the swizzle to, let's say, like change it both to X. So now both are on. So I mean it's still similar, but there's a slight changes in how it actually how the wave is actually moving. Yeah, so now I change the cosine to Y, and now it's just changing the scales of the rectangle. Y both to Y. Yeah, so slight difference, but different effects. But I still like what did I do just now? Yeah, I still like this the most. It looks the most wavy. yeah, just remember at the end you still need to add back a texture coordinate. I'm moving faster than I want. Oh yeah, one more thing. Okay. So remember the tangent just now. So let me show you back the tangent. Here. Okay. Yeah, so the tangent just now. So maybe you want to do a split screen. That means half of the screen is sine and the other half is cosine. It's this tangent. So you can use mix and steps to do this, to achieve this actually. So let me just arrange it properly. So yeah, so at the top, so I use the mix. The first input is actually sine, the second is tangent. And finally alpha is a step that is using the UV coordinate on the y. Yeah, so what will happen if, yeah, so because I use 0.5, so it just means that it split the screen into half. So when the y UV is at 0.5, if it's less than 0.5, it will be the sine. If it's more than 0.5, it will be the tangent. And since we are using mix, you can also use SDF. Oh, sorry, not this. You can just use SDF to do a mask. Okay, maybe a star. Too big. Maybe 0. Okay, you can see the star now. Okay, let me make it more obvious. Now the star is there. Alright, yeah, so within the star is actually the sine wave, and outside of the star is the tangent. So just a simple demonstration of how you can use SDF, or you can use UV coordinate to actually do a split screen and to have different effects on the same screen, on the same object. Well, I'm not done yet. So just one last thing that I actually prepared for you guys is, okay, let me put back the sign. So one last effect that I'm going to show is this. Yeah, it's quite crazy, but I like crazy. So basically, essentially, I'm just doing the same thing as above, but at the very end output I use arch tangent. So arch tangent is the inverse of tangent. So I don't know if I can find it. So to understand a little bit more what it is, so arch tangent is, yeah, okay, I should have prepared the website. Okay, anyway, it's the inverse of tangent, and there's both a y and x as an input. So you can just, so for me, I just simply use the sine as the y and cosine as the x. And I add back the texture coordinate, and you can just create crazy results. So I basically just discovered this by just playing around and experimenting. So if I switch it, it looks similar. What if I add more? and it just becomes a different effect. Yeah, so if you'd like to know more about UV, you can definitely just download this file, which I'll send a link later. You can just download this file and play around and see how you can use sine wave and cosine wave to just create trippy results. So I'm sure there are even more ways to create cooler effects. Ooh, even more me. And you can always make it move just by multiplying by runtime. Yeah. And if you like, you can also do some animation just by changing the value. You know, just to create more chaos. Ooh, okay. So if you want to make a filter that makes people giddy, there you go. And yeah, this is about it that I have prepared for tonight. So just a very simple introduction of for someone that has doesn't really know much about UV manipulation. So you can also do some googling, like for example, like Google UV manipulation effects. Sometimes you might find an interesting code that you can just use it directly and translate it to Swizzle. So this is actually what I do when I'm like bored and don't really know what I want to do, and I'll just go Google and find effects with codes, and I will just translate it to Swizzle and see how it looks like. So yeah. So just let me find the link so I can show it so you guys can play around with it. Okay. So if you go GitHub, you actually Google for user Goa. You'll find all the effects that I uploaded on GitHub, which you can download for free. And today's one will be the UV manipulation. So let me paste it in the link in the comment section for you guys. User Goa. Yeah, so the link is there. You guys can go ahead and play around with it. Oh, there are 39 people. Oh, okay. Hi, all the 39 people. Now 41. Okay. And yeah, end of my part. And we can move on to the highlight of today, which is Varick. Okay. Varick, if you are watching right now, please join the Zoom that I sent to you. Okay, so just while we are waiting for Varick, okay, never mind. So let's just wait for Varick for now. Varick, please go onto the Zoom right now. Yeah. Okay. Varick, please go onto the Zoom right now. Hey, hello. Varick, can you hear me?
Am I in?
Yes, you're in. But maybe you can switch off your speaker on your side. If not, I can hear myself talking.
Oh shit, okay, sorry, give me a sec. Okay, is there echo now?
Yeah, it's fine. But maybe you can show your face so everybody can see you.
Oh yeah, wait, where oh wait. Where is my video of yeah. Uh,
Hey, hello. Yeah.
Alright, cool. Can everyone see me? Nice. Wait, I'm not showing my face?
Yeah, you are. I mean, there's a lag. No, there's a lag on the comment, so so maybe they haven't see the what I'm seeing right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, thanks for coming to join my show tonight.
No problem. Alright, cool. I think you need to enable screen sharing.
Oh, right. Okay, how about you introduce yourself first? Why I give you the rights to share.
Okay. Wait, how do
Okay. I think I give you the right to share. You can share your screen. if you want.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. Let me try it out. Yes, I am sharing.
Wow, you got slides. Wow, amazing. Okay, you can start anytime you want. You can do an introduction of yourself first.
Okay, all good, right? I'm like quite lost. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
All right, cool. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me introduce myself first. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. I'm Varick from Singapore, and I design and create Instagram filters. I've been creating like since the start of this year, so about 6 months. And some of my creations include the how much I'm bound. This is my first filter. Then who is more? This is the more popular one. And what's at home? This is like a game challenge kind of filter. And more recently, I just published a new filter game called Blocks 3x3. And so yeah, these are some of the more popular filters I've created.
I think you need to speak louder. Some they can't hear you properly.
Oh, so sorry. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. Okay, so for today, I think most of the people listening to this, most of the people watching this live stream, most of y'all are familiar with Spot AR and creating and publishing your filters. So what I'll be talking about today is more of the non-technical parts, which is designing AR filter games. Specifically, I'll be sharing about game design, a bit of stuff, about UI UX, and yeah. So I have to say beforehand that what I'll be sharing is just my own creative process and my the principles I follow when I create my own filters. So even if everyone chooses to follow my suggestions, you won't get 100, you won't get a million followers, but you never know. Okay, so yeah, let's start. Cool. So when creating a game filter, I think some people might wonder what kind of game you want to build and what kind of game is like suitable for Instagram. And what I would like to say is that uh, I think Instagram has provided a very useful tool, an easy to use tool for anyone to build like any kind of game you want. I mean, there are some technical challenges, but most simple games uh, can be built quite easily. So if you know my filters, most of my filters are actually uh, inspirations, or you can say it's copied from other places. For example, the who is more filter, right? It's actually inspired from the wedding shoe game. For those who don't know, it's a game commonly played at wedding ceremonies where a couple, the bride and groom sits back to back, and then and a host asks a question, then they raise the hue for the bride. Yeah, hue for the bride. Yeah, or shoe for the groom. So this was where I got my inspiration for the Who is More game. Yeah, because partly because it was also around Valentine's Day period, so I wanted to do something for couples. And then the other game that I built recently was Blocks. And for those people who are in Singapore or I don't know where, but Blocks was inspired from this arcade game called Bishibashi.
I love it.
Yeah, do you play before?
Yeah, of
In home?
course. Like secondary
Oh,
two pastime.
yes. Yeah. I think those who know Bishibashi confirm know this game. Yeah. So so this is where I got the inspiration from. So what uh what I'm trying to say for this point is that when you have to build any kind of paper games, just uh it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be something simple, something that you enjoy playing from the past. And and if you think you enjoy playing it, then you can build it. So my goal is always to build stuff that I enjoy and to build stuff that I think people will enjoy playing. So yeah, so that's the first step for creating any kind of Instagram game. I think some people probably already have their ideas, and so the next step is to work on designing the user experience. So it, it's a fancy word, but it's just designing the gameplay. So for this part, I'm going to use the Who is More filter because most people know about it. And like what I said earlier, is based on the wedding shoe game. So I know what kind of game I want to build. So I know we know the rules, we know the objective, we know how it's supposed to be played. Now the question is, how can we translate that experience from a physical kind of game to a mobile screen device kind of interaction? Then because the way you interact and play the game is going to be very different as compared to in real life. So what I did, or what I think would be a good way to approach it is to always you first start by breaking your game down into different components, and then start to map each part into Spark AI. So uh, for the first step, which is in the game, in the wedding show game, the host or the MC, he'll ask a question to the couple, right? Question like who wakes up later, who is lazier, stuff like questions like that. So in this sense, the host will be a real person asking the question. But in a filter in the game will play the role as a host. So the game have to ask a question. So this step is quite easy in the sense that all we have to do is just design the game to ask the question by displaying it on the mobile device on the screen. So the players playing it can read it and get the question. The next part is the part that's a bit more tricky, which is in the wedding game, the couple indicates the answer by raising their footwear. So once again, they ask a question, then they'll say heel for the bride or shoe for the groom. So this part is interesting because for this step, the game requires user input, which means that when we design our game, we will need user interaction in order to know what the players have selected. So to do that, we have to look at what user interactions Spark provides us with. So you can see this list here. It's not the complete list, but these are most of the interactions that Spark AI provides. Most of familiar with Spark AI will be familiar with these interactions. And there's a lot of cool stuff here. Uh, I when I was scrolling through, I was quite excited. There are so you can sort of categorize into facial, facial kind of facial interactions. So eyebrow, wink, mouth, facial, and then there's the head position or rotation, your turn, tilt, and whatever. And then there's another one which is touch gestures, which is your typical tap, swipe, that kind of stuff. So when designing the game controls, I have to imagine that someone else is beside me because when I'm building the game, I'm doing alone. So I have to imagine someone else beside me, and then I must imagine I'm playing with another person. So when I'm playing the game, my goal as a player is to indicate myself or the other person as the answer to the question. So when I'm sitting beside the person, right, it makes sense for the user input for the game control to be some kind of directional input, directional kind of indication, like left or right. So with that condition, we can narrow it down to these four interactions: head tilt, head turn, winking, like left for left, and right wing for right. And then there's also swipe. So so this four allows us some to indicate some kind of direction. For it indicates allows the player to indicate a sense of direction. But uh, two of them for I didn't like wink and swipe. Wink because it's a bit unreliable and it's not very intuitive. And then swipe doesn't make sense because you can't have two players swipe the screen together. It felt weird. So
Yep.
naturally, the choices are head tilt and head turn. And then when I tested this, I tested playing the game with head tilt and head turn. Both were good. Both were intuitive. I would say, like if I want to indicate left or right, it's very natural motion for me. But there was one clear advantage that head tilt has. So when you are tilting your head, one advantage is that you are still able to maintain eye contact with the screen. And because the screen is the only way that the players interact with the screen, as in the only way they receive the information, they have to read off the screen and look at what happens on the screen. So it's very important for them to maintain that eye contact. And when I was doing head turn, I found that it was a bit challenging to still maintain eye contact with the screen. Because when you turn your head naturally, your eye contact will also shift. Shift to the direction that they are turning to.
Yep.
And then when you break eye contact, you may lose like some key information that the game is trying to present to you. So that's why after I tested them to me, okay, it's very clear that for this game I have to use head tilt and players will tilt their head to the direction of the person they are choosing. So the next part is in the wedding shoe game. The couple sits back to back so they cannot cheat. Because part of this game is testing their teamwork or their telepathy or how well they know each other, right? So the fun part of the game is that the other person has to guess or the other person or I cannot know what the other person is gonna say. But in the phone in the Instagram game, I can't possibly make the players play it back to back. Otherwise, they can't play the game at all. So how do you make sure that the players can still not know what the other person is thinking? So for that, the approach I chose was to use a countdown timer. So it's quite subtle, it's quite small, but the purpose of it is to make sure that the players answer at the same time, so that they won't know what the other person is thinking. And then the last part of a very shrewd game is that the host says who was selected as the answer, or who was correct, or whether they are correct. So this part was a bit of an extra step that I wanted to do when I was designing the filter. So I thought it would be fun if the filter would be smart enough to know who was selected as the by the couple.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this part was a kind of a technical challenge, which was a bit more fun when I use the 3D position of faces and compare and decide who is the person on the left, who is the person on the right.
Mm.
So when the couples tilt their head in one direction, I can select that person, and then I can play some animation or add some special effects to the person. So it just makes it more fun and makes the filter a bit more interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the kind of approach I had when I was doing the where I was just designing the user experience for the game. And if you think about these four different steps, right, you can sort of split it into two categories. So how I like to how I like to how I design the game is I decide that the game is usually doing one of two things. One is either giving information to the player, or you're receiving information from the player, or sometimes doing both at once. So in the example I had earlier, in the previous slide, when the filter is asking a question to the players, that is when the filter is delivering information to them. It's displaying information, right? Then when the players indicate their choice and do the head click, that's when we are receiving information, and that's the kind of interactive part of this where the information flow is two-way between the player and the game, which is what I find is the fun part about building games. So let us look at the first state, which is delivering information to player. So when we look at delivering information to player, there are a few principles that I sort of use and apply when I design my games. So the first one, I think this applies for any kind of game, but when you're trying to convey information to users or players, you want to explore different methods to enhance or replace textual information. So what this means is that instead of just relying on text and making the user read the text, it will be better as a game designer to use different colors, icons, or animation to get a message across. So I think most filter creators are familiar with Spark AR or Instagram doesn't like text for the filters. So if you can eliminate some of the text, that would be good for Instagram for your approval, and then it will also be good for the players, because if you look at the diagram, as a player, right, as a normal player, you will instinctively understand the message that the color and the icon is telling you. So when you compare the one at the top, which is just text, and the one below, which is text with icons. Sorry, the one below is I'm using the colors and icons to tell a player whether it's correct or not. So that one is a lot more instinctive. The players don't have to read. They can just briefly look at it or glance at it, and they get the idea already. So I think when designing games, this is a very useful tool, I would say, to explore different ways to make use of colors. I love using different colors when I'm designing my games. I like to make it like super colorful.
Yeah, I think IG really likes you because of this. I mean, they don't like us to use text, so what you're saying actually makes is totally what IG wants.
Yeah, I think so, yes. So another method I recently tried was to use animation to convey that information. So in this example, I'm using the blocks and wait. So the for those who don't know, the aim of blocks, like the which is the dish touch, you have to fill in the gaps to form a 3 by 3 block. So uh, in this for this game, I have to tell the player, the user, whether it's successful or unsuccessful. Like so, if it's successful or failure, right? And this was the part I experimented a lot because I didn't want to just use colors and icons because I was already using a lot of colors for this game. So I wanted to see if how else can I tell the user that they are correct or wrong. So if you see this one, if the player gets it correct, you will notice that the top blocks slide in very smoothly into the bottom one. So that is one form of animation. And then if it's correct, there'll be a smiley face that pops up with animation. And then if it's wrong, I use this bounce, we got bounce, yeah, bounce out animation. So that when it lands, it will be like it collides and it bounces out.
Can
So
you play again?
yes,
Yeah.
I'll play again. So the first one is the correct one, where it slides in.
Ah,
The second one is where it bounces.
oh, I didn't notice it.
Yeah, it's quite subtle. I just play it one more time.
That's cool.
Yeah, it took me a long time to implement it. Yeah, but I really like the idea of the bounce because it was like two things colliding and things that were not meant to be put together.
Yeah, I
So that
think the
bounce
subtle
effect,
difference like this makes a lot of difference actually.
yeah, it makes a difference in terms of how the user can process the information.
Mm.
So I'm relying on different methods to get the idea across. So that was quite and animation is fun, I think. It's fun for everyone.
Yep.
Start like using it. And the next part, avoiding information overload. So I'm also using blocks as an example here. So what I mean, what I mean here is that when you're designing a game for like Instagram filter game, right? You have to know that your real estate, the screen size is rather small
Mm.
as compared to like a desktop or a laptop monitor. You only have this amount of real estate to play with. So you definitely don't want to cram too many elements in one frame, in one screen, because that's going to make the user confused and and it make it hard for him to understand what is supposed to do. So what I do is I try to mm, minimize the as in I'll try to display only the necessary information to users. So in this example, you can see the two screenshots. The first screenshot, the one with the purple box, that one is during gameplay. And the one after, the one beside is when the game is over. So something that is common in both is the high score, not the score. Is the score in white, the 1-3 and the 8.
Mm.
So both of them are the same thing. Both of them are player scores, but you find that the treatment for for this number is a bit different across the two, because when you're playing the game, you you want the players to focus on what's important, which in this case is the blocks. So their priority is not to know what the current score is. So that's why I chose to put the score a bit smaller, and it's actually in terms of the layer or the order, it's actually behind the blocks. So it's always you can in terms of the yeah, in terms of order, it's hidden by the blocks.
Mm.
So only after the game ends, then I will scale up scale up the scale up the score and then add the other stuff. So because after the game ends, that's the thing that's important, right? It's not the blocks anymore. I hide the blocks and then I make the score much bigger. So this is related to the last point I have, where the size of the UI elements should be relative to its importance. Yeah. So I can give another screenshot example for this is uh, this is from this is from the What's at Home tutor I had, where the challenge was to find different items in your household. So what you see here is that the I show the type of item is the players are supposed to find, and then there's also the number below, right? And this is a bit different from my previous designs of previous games where I usually the timer is a bit more subtle, but for this game, I wanted to create the urgency for players. So I put the timer like significantly larger, and I added animation. So every second it will like there'll be a pause and it will expand. So it almost makes it very hard for the user to ignore. So the point here is that if you want users to notice it, and if it's important, you want the users to notice it, make it big and make it obvious. Yeah, pretty straightforward. So so this part three stuff is about delivering information to players, conveying the importance, conveying timely information to players. So the next part is receiving information from players. So this is the interactive part. This is the part players uh, where players do certain actions for the game. And the first point I have, which was to minimize the complexity and number of actions required. This is a very common principle, not just in like design, like across, like it's across, I think, all aspects of user experience. You don't want to confuse the user. You want to make things as easy as possible for users, because uh, users or players are lazy. Users are lazy, so you want to make it things as easy as possible, as intuitive. So you don't even have to think when you play a game. And then the next part is to provide feedback to acknowledge player input. This part is quite fun. So I don't know if you all have seen like instances where where you see people playing the filter, but they are struggling to understand how it works, or struggling to know what to do next.
Yep, I see him a lot.
Or sometimes, yeah. It happens, right?
Yep.
It happens. It's very common for various reasons. So one example I can give is that like I always see players playing the full is more filter, and when they do hit tilt, somehow the filter can't detect their action, and then they are a bit confused and they don't know what to do next. There's a bit of frustration. So one thing I really like, one thing I did expect to be very useful was the white color bounding circle. That one
Yeah.
when we play the game that we are sort of translucent circle. So that one was very useful because most of the time when Instagram cannot detect the hit tilt, the reason is because the player is face is at a weird angle. So it can be like this, then they just play like this. So sometimes Instagram can detect, but most of the time Instagram cannot detect weird angles, right? For
Yep.
faces. So in these cases, the white color bounding box is the white color circle is very useful in telling the user whether it has detected his or her face. Because if two people are playing, and then one person is at a weird angle and the other's okay, and then this person has a circle, but I don't have a circle, then I would I would be a bit confused, but I just need to take a bit. I need to look at the screen, and I can figure out, oh, it's not detecting my face. So I need to make it easier for the filter to detect. Okay, so that allows it's a shorter period of confusion and frustration for the users. The filter effectively hints to the user what is the issue that they are facing. So that's one thing I really like about the circle.
Yeah, really
And
smart.
so yeah, I think it was unintentional. It was like, oh,
Well, it
I
works.
think it was like, yeah. You know, it's kind of like it's an unintentional effect. So when I was doing the game, I just wanted to be able to tell where my face is easily. So I did the circle, so I can like see where's my face, and then I included in the game, and then it was very useful. Yeah, so super cool. Then last point is to calibrate sensitivity of user input. So this really depends on your game controls, on the way the user is supposed to interact with the game. So for things like head tilt, it is quite you don't really need to calibrate because it's quite Instagram detects it very well. But uh, for things like blinking, Instagram is actually I would say a bit oversensitive in the sense that it detects blinks when, like, if you see my eyes, it detects blinks even though you didn't blink all the way, which happens quite a bit
Yeah,
for the block
depends
users.
on the
So
size of your
effectively,
eyes also.
yeah, I also think so. I think it depends on the size of the
Yes.
eyes.
If you have small eyes, you'll always think that you're closing your eyes.
Yes, yes, I'm afraid that's the case. I also think so. Yeah. So when you design games, you gotta be more inclusive. You gotta be prepared for all types of users with all different kinds of inputs. Uh, so because when I design a game, there's the degree of randomness, right? You don't know how players are gonna interact with the game. So you gotta
Mm.
make sure that when they interact with the game, you don't want there to be overreaction. So when they give one time, you want to you want to you want your game to not like imagine it blink three times, something like that, or
Yep.
you want to make it so insensitive so that such that they have to make their movements too obvious, too drastic for the game to detect
Mm.
their user action. So this requires a lot of experimentation and testing, but it like when the sensitivity is like poorly calibrated, it makes for very poor like user experience.
Yep.
Yeah. So so these are the few design principles I have for these two states of the game. And so give me a sec. I'm trying to remember what the next slide is. Okay. Important question. Is your filter or is your game simple enough to learn by observation? Why I ask this question is because when uh, your users discover your filter, right, most of the time it is through watching other people playing the game. So if I have a friend who uploaded a story of her playing a game and I watch it, I watch the way she interacts with it, and then if I think it's good, I'll try it out myself. So so if so that's one way. The other way is through your demo video. So when you publish a filter, you need a demo video, right? So people will watch that and try to understand. So I would say these are the sort of two key ways that people understand how to play a game and understand in terms of what are the rules, how are they supposed to, what action are they supposed to perform, and all this kind of stuff. So it I think it's very important that your game should be simple enough so that if all I need to do is just watch you play the game, and then at the end of the story, I'll be like, okay, I understand how it works. I want to play it now. Do you get what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. So, one other way to explain the rules of the game, obviously, is through
Text.
instructions and text.
Yep.
But as most of us know,
Is that a real file name?
no, it's not. It's not. So for those who need a recap, Instagram doesn't like text that's doesn't like static text. So it likes text that moves according to the player. It doesn't like non-standard instructions. And it doesn't like too much text basically. And the last point about the approval box in the bad mode, that's just for laughs. It's not real. So the key thing here is you want to avoid using, because I think Instagram provides, like in Inspire, they provide a set of instructions, right? Like tap to continue, tap to start, do this, do that, but it is useful most of the time, but sometimes you don't have the exact instruction that you want.
Yep.
So like for my game, I want them to both wink and open their mouth, but I can't show two instructions at once. I have to decide between one. So there is a bit of inflexibility in terms of the instructions that Instagram provides you, and then you also can't use too much text. So that leaves you with very restricted ways to explain how the game works to your users, which is kind of adding on to the point that your game has to be so simple that you can just watch and understand. And so for the blocks game, I tried to add if you tried it, if those have tried, I tried to add
A UI button.
section.
Yeah.
Yeah, a UI button. Yeah, correct. I almost forgot the name. A UI button that shows you how to play the game. But it felt very odd to me, as in because the instructions is like half big instructions. It's like just images and icons. There's no words because Instagram doesn't like it. So I mean, there are some ways to try to explain, but the best way to me, I feel, is just to make it as simple as possible. So yeah, that's my other key point. And okay, this is something that I think is very important. I think not okay. I don't know how many people do this, how many creators do this, but usability testing is also known as play testing or beta testing. Where basically you get you give your game or your filter to someone else and ask them to try it out. And the key point here is to give the game to someone who is not yourself.
Yep.
Because when we develop filters, when we develop games, we obviously know how it's supposed to work, how we're supposed to play a game. So we may fall into this pitfall where we assume other people also know how to play the game. And that was something that I found out very quickly. Like there were a lot of issues surfaced when I did usability testing. And so just to explain more, when you do your testing, you want to make sure these are some of the questions you can ask. I mean, you don't have to ask, but it will be good if your testers can provide you feedback on this kind of stuff, because they don't know your game, just like, because they are very much like your real users. They don't know how to play a game. They don't have that background knowledge. And so what I have here on the screen is just some of the feedback that I got when I was testing my What's at Home filter. So it was super useful because I get to understand better the user behavior. A lot of them gave me suggestions how to improve the game, and then they also told me if there's any technical issue they face. So all these are super useful feedback, and and it won't be it won't be something that you as a developer may have noticed when you test the game yourself. So I won't explain too much each point, but I think if you can try your best to test. How I test my games is I will like create a demo link and then I put it on my bio, my profile, and then I'll ask my friends to just test the game and then give me after I share their thoughts with you. So for some of them, it's quite I for some of them I don't even tell them what the game is about. I just show them the link and ask them to share their thoughts with me. So in some cases, when I show them the link and then they open it, and then the first thing they ask is, what am I supposed to do? Like they totally have no idea how to play the game or what's supposed to be done. So it's good that you think about this kind of stuff and try to make sure that the game is simple and intuitive. Yeah. So I think I don't have much left for my talk. Something special bonus you can say it's replay value. So this really depends on the type of game you are playing and the format of the game you are building. For some of my games, I found that it has that replay value, so people will play it multiple times, and then it sort of allows it to be discovered more easily. So because when your game has that replay value, then users will play it more times, right? Then they'll post more stories, and then it's more likely that their followers will discover the filter and want to try it out on their own. But I would say this. Okay, so there's one type of filter that does this. There's one type of game that does this very well. It's like those kind of there's like a question bank or there's a set of words, and then every time you play a game, you randomly select from the list, and then it will show up. Those kind of games, I think the who is more filter it has a kind of element where there's a list, where there's a question bank, and each time you play it's a different there's a different experience. So those I think that was one strong reason why it got very popular is because you can play multiple times. But I would say this depends on the type of game you are trying to you are building. For the blocks game, I tried to implement like some kind of replay value, but I couldn't really think of a way to make it different each time you play without sacrificing like the mechanics. So that's why I'll consider replay value as an added bonus. If you can do it, like you should do it. And so that is most of my presentation. Before I end off, I would like to mention some other like noteworthy filter game creators. Do SG Eugene, amazing stuff. Christopher Gu, I think I'm not actually sure if I copied his handle correctly, but I think his filters are I think he has mastered that format of games that he builds. And then the other two, AT Augmented and Yana, I haven't tried a lot, but I haven't tried a lot of their filters. But I've seen the stuff they do, and it's pretty cool. So with that is the end of my little talk. I want to say thanks to all. I actually don't know how many people are listening in right now.
Just now they have 30 plus, now we have 20, so it's always always changing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, but so cool. Yeah. Thanks so much for spending your Saturday night listening to me and Andrew. I hope that I don't know this helped you in some way.
Yeah, it's very useful. There are many things that you talk about.
Cool.
It makes sense after you say it, but when you're making filters, probably is something not very intuitive, right? It doesn't come to you straight away. like at least for me, but I don't know about other creators. Maybe it's also not for them. Like maybe we never really talk it through before we make a game filters.
Yeah,
Yeah. So actually, some
I think it's
questions for you.
yes.
So
Oh right, right.
when you first started the Who is More, when you first publish it, right? Do you have people still have people like asking you like they don't get how you play, or when you see how people use
Oh.
your filter, right? They just anyhow play. They don't really know how it actually works.
Oh my God, yeah. There are quite a few instances where the players don't know how the game works. there was this, there was this, I think Twitter video I saw like, so it displayed a question, then the player when he saw the question, he instinctively like turned his head to the side, like immediately. then the, so I think he didn't know he was supposed to do a head tilt. So there's still confusion in terms of how the game is played. And then I also got a lot of DMs asking me how to play the game, and and so it's not foolproof. Like there's always going to be some confusion. I think like people as hard as you try to make your game intuitive, I think it's like normal human behavior to still ask questions and be confused sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we can ever cover every single person and how they actually think, especially when ARs is not something that intuitive for people to even to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah. I think some people who are more like familiar with like AR filters, they sort of know how to interact with filter. Like they know they're supposed to record, then they start playing. Or like now, I think it's more common for people to use headfield, especially when there's like two options above. Like so, for people who are more familiar, it's more intuitive. But some others who are new, it's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I think you actually started this trend of the hate tilting. So I actually have a filter that is actually not hate tilt, but because your filter is so famous, so they just think that, oh, I should just do hate tilt, when it's actually not about hate tilting. So because they are familiar with like, your filter, but when it comes to another filter that has similar layout but it's actually not hate tilt, they will still do hate tilt. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's quite funny.
I think that's a good, yeah, it's quite funny, but I think that's a good thing. Like like you, and the good thing is for us, like we don't need to explain, like filter designers, we don't need to explain anymore how it works. Like you can, there is a degree of safe assumption that players automatically know how to play it. And because hate tilt is so, hate tilt is like instinctive for them already. So it's good for everyone, players and developers, I think.
Hmm. So okay, so another question: how many feedbacks do you have? Like just now you say ask your friends, right? Like
Yes.
how many tests you actually got?
How many tests?
Just a
Okay,
rough
how
like
many times
yeah
how many times they are tested? Okay.
yeah
So all my filters, I test all my function. So let me go back. Oh, never mind. So I actually test all my game filters. I test. I tested blocks. I tested what's at home challenge. I tested the who is more in. So but my testing is quite is I wouldn't say it's that extensive. I will just put a link, uh, ask my friend try it, and then I will make changes and I'll publish it. So it's mostly just one round, one round of testing.
mm.
And oh, something I forgot to mention earlier is that you know that Instagram feature where you can look at how people are using your filters.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I think that is super cool in terms not just in in a way to satisfy your ego after what people use something you create. But I think it's also uh, very useful in providing you information as to how people actually interact with computers. Because when I watch how people are playing blocks, a lot of them, some users actually tilt their head down when they want the top blocks to drop.
Mm.
And it was not something I designed. It the design I had is that once it's correct, automatically it will drop. And it was interesting to me, like to see players do the head dropping, which I didn't design there, but it's super cool.
So do you make changes after you see that feedback?
So so even after I published filters, I did make changes. For like the one I said, the blocks where they drop my head. I thought a lot about it because even when as I was designing, I thought it occurred to me that to use the head to drop make the blocks for. But in terms of implementation, I figured it was more straightforward to just let the system decide when to drop. So that was a technical decision for me, and then someone suggested using. So for blocks, I use like wing, right? But someone suggested using head tilt because they become wing. So I added that yesterday. I added yesterday, so now people can play with head tilt. And then for who is more, I added I put an Instagram poll, Instagram survey, but I basically asked like my followers to like submit questions that they want to add into the filter.
Cool.
So like that, wow, that was like, so I got a bunch of questions which I managed to add, and then also someone suggested to add a burning bridges addition to the filter, which is why based on the user feedback that I added in that mode, which was like pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Cool. So, and okay, one last question from me. How long is your developing process? I mean, of course, you can include the technical part too, but the most important is actually how you do the ideation and how many times you revise until you actually publish it. Yeah. The whole duration. Yeah. Roughly, just a rough duration.
Rough. My goal or I try to publish one filter every month. So I would say average 3 weeks.
Oh,
Average 3 weeks for one filter.
cool.
Because I only create filters in my free time. And then as I said, there's a lot of experimentation and technical stuff, a lot of tweaking. So that takes up a lot of time because when I was building blocks, I had a mixture of patches and script. But then as I went further into it, that I decided, okay, I have to do it completely in script. So I have to re-engineer quite a big part of that, and that took a long time. But yeah, I think scripting is probably the smarter way to go when developing games.
Yes, I agree. Scripting makes things a lot easier, man.
Yes, it does.
Okay, I will just see if there's any questions from the people watching. So if you have questions, just put it in the comment now. So yeah. So are you playing on the next game already?
I think definitely. I have a few ideas in mind. I am trying. One option is mahjong.
Wow, that's tough, man.
Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, it's just a very early stage idea. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, and yeah, but it's an idea I have to build mahjong. I think it'll be fun, and I don't think I've seen a mahjong game on Instagram yet. So
I'm not sure if they would think that that is something to do with gambling. But you can use poker cards, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah, poker cards are allowed.
Yeah. I'm not sure about mahjong tiles.
Mahjong tiles, I think can because Instagram is not good at detecting like Chinese characters.
Hey, no, I tried using Chinese character. No, they also know that
Oh,
it's
is it?
yeah, because Taiwan has a lot of creators, so Chinese text is also
Oh,
yep.
wow. Oh, that's interesting. Wow, I didn't know that. But yeah, I think it will be an interesting project. What about you? Do you have any ideas, upcoming tutors?
Well, definitely not games. Game is not my strong suit. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
more
but
towards like shaders and UV. That's something that I actually showed just now. So I
yes,
tend
yes,
to I tend to create more of that.
yeah, and I think what was that? I think with the beta, upcoming possible features Instagram release, I think it opens up a lot of
Yes,
possibilities.
I look forward to the kind of things you can create, game filters you create with new features.
Yeah, that's challenging, but it'll be fun.
Okay, I think there's no questions, so I think we can end off here. Hey, thank you so much, Varick,
Okay.
for sharing so much. It's very
Thanks so much,
helpful.
Kunjun. Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
no
was very
problem, no
fun.
problem. Yeah, so
All
please
right,
follow
so
Varick on his IG account and see you guys next week. Yeah, bye bye.
yeah, bye.
Bye. Okay, so just before I end off, I'll just quickly tell you what's going to happen next week. So next week, I got another guest that's going to talk specifically about how to filter marketing. So if you are just a creator, you might be thinking how you can tell potential client how you can market a filter, or even go find maybe agencies that maybe don't really know about AR filters, but they want to know more how you're going to explain to them what's so benefiting about using AR for marketing. You should stay tuned to next week's guest. Alright, so that's all for tonight. Thanks for watching and hope you have a good day. Yeah, bye.